Hi everyone, it's Chef Liron. I hope you're all doing well at home. We miss seeing you here at the J, and today we're gonna do one of our camp favorites. We're gonna do pizza, and we're gonna make the dough and the sauce, and that way you can make it at home with your kids and family and share your pictures with us. So to start the pizza, we're gonna use warm water, and we're gonna pour it gently into the bowl, and we're gonna add yeast to that. So we have the warm water and the yeast, and we're gonna mix it up lightly, and we're just gonna wait a few minutes for the yeast to dissolve in the water so it's better and it'll mix in easier. So after we've waited a few minutes, we're gonna add the rest of the ingredients into the pizza. So we're adding flour and salt, olive oil, and sugar. And then we're just gonna mix all those ingredients together. And I'm using the spatula just until it's too hard to use the spatula, and then I'm gonna switch to using my hands. We're gonna make this dough, and then I'm gonna knead it just for a minute until it is all nice and smooth. Once the dough is smooth, I'm gonna let it rise in the bowl. So I'm gonna add a little bit of oil to the bowl so that it's not sticky, and then that's going to sit there with plastic wrap for about an hour, and we're gonna let it rise. Now, if you wanna make the dough at home ahead of time, you can make the dough, and then you can freeze balls of it in the freezer, and then take them out whenever you just wanna have pizza, you feel like eating it, so you can make it ahead of time, and then always have dough in your freezer to make it with the kids. So I'm just gonna knead it just a little more. You want all the flour to get incorporated. If it's too sticky, just add a little bit more flour, but not too much, because you don't want the dough to be too hard. So once I have the dough all nice and even, we're gonna take a little bit olive oil, and I'm just gonna put a tiny bit into the bowl, and then I'm going to roll the dough in the oil so that it gets completely covered with the oil. So just a tiny drop of olive oil, and then we're gonna cover it on both sides, make sure it's all covered with the oil, and then we cover it with plastic wrap. Okay, and you set that aside for about an hour. Here we have the dough that's already ready, and before we roll it out, I'm just gonna quickly make a sauce. So for the sauce, you're gonna need a blender, and we're just gonna put all of the ingredients into the blender. So we have here a small can of whole tomatoes, just a whole can goes in. And then we're just gonna add the seasoning. So I have the regular seasoning here, and you can play around with it and do whatever you like at home. So we have onion powder and garlic powder. If you don't have powders at home, you can also use fresh garlic and onion. We have oregano and basil, salt and pepper, and then a little bit of olive oil. We're gonna put that in the blender and just quickly blend it together, and then our sauce is done. Pizza sauce is done. So our next step, we're going to roll out the dough. So you can roll it out already directly onto the sheet pan that you're gonna use. And then we're just going to be flattening it out. You can use a rolling pin, but if you don't have one, you don't have to. And I'm just pressing it down with the fingers, making sure that the middle gets as thin as possible. You don't want it to be too fat in the middle. Once you have it all nicely rolled out, I'm gonna give it just a small layer of oil, and I'm gonna spread it with a brush, just a tiny bit. This oil is going to help prevent the sauce from getting the dough soggy. So it's just a little bit on the top of the dough. And then we're gonna put the sauce. So with the tomato sauce, you only want a little bit. You don't want a lot because you don't want it to get soggy. So I'm just gonna put a tiny bit of that sauce, and then with the back of the spoon, I'm just gonna roll it around, make sure it just covers the whole pizza. It's really only a few teaspoons for each pizza. And then you can either make one big pizza, you could do a rectangle, or you can give each kid a small piece of dough and have them make their own. So once we have the pizza all rolled out, the first thing I'm gonna add is cheese. Okay, we're gonna cover the whole pizza with cheese. And you don't want too much cheese because then you're just gonna have a pile of cheese melted on top. And then here's our artistic part. I only have corn here for the toppings, but give your kids all kinds of different colors of toppings and have them show you what designs they can make. They can make a face, they can make a dog. We had a competition here and we wanted to see who can make the most creative design. You can use mushrooms, you can use onions, olives, corn, any topping you think of that you would like on your pizza. All right, and then you're gonna put it into a 475-degree oven and bake it until it is golden brown. Okay, so we have here our pizza, and when it comes out of the oven, ready to eat. Okay, just cut it up. Let it cool a little bit before you give it to your kids. Hope to see you soon at the J.